Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very pleased to welcome you here. My name is Stuart Dresner. I'm Chief Executive of Privacy Laws and Business. And welcome to our 25th anniversary conference, Overcoming Privacy Hurdles. Can I have my slides, please? And then we can get going. So this is the first time here at Fitzwilliam College, but our 22nd time in Cambridge. And here we continue the traditions of the conference with our excellent content, our forward-looking subjects. We're very international in character. As you know, we've got speakers from 14 different countries, and wide in scope but intimate in style. And it's easy here to meet the people you want. We have good meals, great social events, and we always have a bit of fun as well. So that's later. So what we're going to do, I'm going to be introducing the team in a moment, the Privacy Laws and Business team. I'm going to tell you a bit about what we do at Privacy Laws and Business for those who it's the first time here. Talk a bit about, we've got a surprise guest, you'll see in a few minutes, and then we can talk a bit about overcoming privacy hurdles, and then introduce some of the privacy regulators who you can meet today. But to make sure I don't take too long with talking about 25 years of privacy laws and business, we prepared a 2-minute animation which we hope you will enjoy.
I've got two key objectives. One is to develop a global data protection programme strategy at the Richemont corporate level, which will then be implemented across all of these 19 companies. That's quite a large task. Together with that, obviously, on a daily basis, these 19 companies have data protection queries and issues. So I'm basically needing to give support to 19 companies globally on data protection matters. So this is clearly quite a struggle in a way to spend time on both of these things, because clearly we need to address urgent issues that come up every day, but we need to move away from doing things in a firefighting mode, and we need to get sort of strong policies, processes and procedures in place that will help us move away from that way of dealing with things. I mean, you'll never 100%, obviously, as you'll all be aware, get away from firefighting. There'll always be an element, but I think a lot of things that we are dealing with on that sort of daily firefighting basis can be dealt with a lot better by having an established set of processes and procedures in place across the board. So in addition to sort of these two key priorities, I am getting involved in a lot of global projects. I do have to travel quite a bit. And, another thing is that I need to grow the team because, I'm not going to be able to do this whole thing on my own without support. It just is not possible. So that's the key challenge. They are the challenges. How can I achieve them? Well, as I've just said, it's important to recognise you can't do everything. And as much as, we perhaps like to do things and think, yes, I can do this, it's more than a one-person job. So it's important to recognise that. And also for the organisation to recognise the scale of the task in hand. So that is something that they need to be made aware of. And what goes hand in hand with that is the need for resources. So, as I say, I arrived in September. I now have a secondee from a law firm working with me, and he's been there since February. And I also have a PA. So when I arrived, I had neither of these. And it's not easy to get resources. You do have to make quite a case for it. But, I still need more. So I won't be stopping there. But, I think I've achieved quite a good standard so far in terms of the organisation recognising the scale of this task, because they didn't know really the scale of it until they had someone to come in and have a look at what was going on and assess what needed to be done, which is what I've been able to do. And now, on an ongoing basis, they are recognising the scale of this task in hand and the fact that, they are going to need to put resources behind it.
What's the individual issues? First of all, it's a lot about IT security, and data protection law refers to it as technical organizational measures, and the different laws are lay it out in different detail, but some of the basic principles that you need as a data controller, and the employer would be the data controller because it's work-related activities, he would need to implement access control. So you need to make sure employees are using passwords, and how can you do that? You should also log access and keep track and log whether data is changed, deleted, things like that. Password protection is necessary. You should encryption is, at least the German law implemented it, you should really consider encryption when possible. It's also dealing with principles like when to delete data, you have to make sure data are deleted. They cannot just stay on a local device, things like that. So there's a lot of technical measures you need to implement. It doesn't matter whether it's a private-owned device or employer-owned device. If it's in the course of processing data for your company, you need to make sure you're complying with that. And potentially, using virtualization or cloud solutions should be okay, because it's not stored locally. You implement the applications on your own company devices and company IT. So that should be good. And it seems to me like the sandbox solutions are offering a same level, because you can implement password protection, you can implement encryption, you can ensure data is deleted, you can ensure data is backed up. So that, in my view, seems to be a pretty good solution on that point. A local solution, obviously, it's really hard to do that. How do you do it? How can you say you have to use a password, and how do you ensure that no one is accessing the company data? That's pretty hard to implement in practice, I would say. Even with any other solution, you cannot prevent someone giving away a password, but at least there's also, if you just hand down the device, your smartphone, to your kids, that's not a problem, because if you're not logged on to a sandbox solution and not logged on to the company system, it's not a big issue.
This is a little cartoon that I found talking about the data fields, kind of reference to the California gold rush in the United States, when everyone rushed across the country west to find gold. Social media is sort of like that. It generates unknown amounts of information, and there are all sorts of companies that have popped up that are mining this information. Data miners specifically is what they're called. Social media has overtaken pornography as the #1 online activity, and Facebook and Twitter are the two most prominent actors in that field. Here in the United States, it's about 50% of everyone in the United States has a Facebook account. The UK is right behind us at 49%, but the UK is actually doing a little bit better than us at Twitter. It's only about 36% of us in the US are using Twitter, but in UK it's about 39%. With all the information that's generated from these social media accounts, there are companies such as Axiom, Spokeo, Social Intelligence. These are all data mining companies that have emerged to cull the information that's available publicly about individuals. Axiom alone has profiles on 500 million different people and processes 50 trillion data transactions per year. Spokeo, you may have heard of recently, was the subject of an FTC, Federal Trade Commission, which is sort of the de facto DPA in the United States, was part of an enforcement action where their culling of information from social media, the FTC had determined was part of a consumer report where they had alleged all along that they were not, and so they ended up paying large civil penalties in that case. Social Intelligence, however, from the beginning said that they were pulling this information from social media for the purposes of putting together consumer reports, and the FTC gave them a pass. So social media, with over 500 transactions a year, is thrown into the category of big data. The World Economic Forum has even declared big data to be a new economic class. Much like oil, it's valuable. There's no doubt about that. The use of this sort of data for employment issues is why we're talking today. Those issues are a little bit more prominent here in the EU, where laws generally favor protection of the employee and their privacy rights. In the UK, it is more established that an individual doesn't have to have an expectation of privacy for the law to protect them, whereas in the United States, it's on the flip side of the coin. The privacy issues in the employment space are very much weighted toward the employer. It is considered a property right for them to want to protect their work environment and to protect the resources, i.e. computers, emails, the infrastructure that provides access to social media is the more prominent protection in the United States.